gone tea and biscuits. You might be able to see that there.
Makes a good cup of tea as well.
Got a bit of a bone to pick with you there, because having been to your garage recently, I saw power tools in there, Brandon, and I'm a little bit disappointed. We had an agreement.
Yeah.
Well,
Tell you what I can do. I'm into me gardening. Since I've come,
right.
me lawn.
That's all right.
Ask Rizzo. Every day I talk about my lawn.
Your first Socceroos cap.
I remember after the game, I was in the toilet, and I don't know why, but I was busting for a poo after the game. And everyone's congratulating, and I didn't do too bad, and thanks very much. I was turtle heading it at this stage. I needed to run into the South Korean toilet. I sat there just in this cubicle, right, and just thinking, like, you just played for your country.
A much beloved member of the football community as well, especially up there at ECU Joondalup. Always a twinkle in his eye.
He was the one constant in me football from early on to right till he passed away, you know. He was such a special person.
Dream car rental, dream team.
Right. I'd be in the stand watching this dream team.
Like bench coat?
I'd just have a cup of tea with a Jaffa cake watching some good footballers going about.
T-shirt, shorts and thongs.
Jacob Burns and Liam Miller. Growing up, I was like, if I could have Burns' aggressiveness, his mentality, the way he wanted to win games, and Liam Miller's technical ability, I'd have half a decent career. That wasn't decided. I was the first one to put my hand up. Again, I think subconsciously and very naively to think, like, imagine if I missed it. If I can experience anything half of that here until I stop kicking a ball, I can retire one happy man.
Hi guys, Gareth Morgan here, welcoming you to another episode of Glory Stories, the club's official podcast, brought to you as always in association with our club partners and great friends Drimtel, Perth Glory and Drimtel, a winning combination. Now I'm going to start today with a disclaimer. You could even call it a warning if you like. And that is that basically if you're expecting 40 minutes of just solid, serious football chat and analysis, I'm going to tell you right now, you're not going to get that today.
Not a chance.
Not a chance. There are going to be tangents. There are going to be digressions. There are going to be discussions around biscuits, things like that, other deep life topics. So just prepare yourself for that. That's the way things are going to go in this episode of Glory Stories. And I'm partly responsible for that, but also some of the responsibility has to be shared by today's guest, because Brandon O'Neill has been good enough to join us today. Brano, lovely to see you, mate. Thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you for having me, guys. Looking forward to cups of tea and a lot of bickies.
Well, we have...
only one bicky.
Just the one bicky. Yeah,
wink, nudge.
Skin folds. I'll have the other 9 from the packet. Don't worry about that. So I've tried to make you feel at home. We've gone tea and biscuits. You might be able to see that there.
Nice. Makes a good cup of tea as well.
Thank you very much.
I'd be very, very happy with you.
Colour of a house brick, that one. That's the way we like it. That is the way we like it. The cups, incidentally, have come from home.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, brought these ones in. As you can see, that one's a budgie. I think you've got the galah
pink one,
over there.
Yeah,
that's actually my daughter Grace's one.
Oh, Gracie, you're very good.
I had to ask permission to bring it in. She said, "What's it for?" I said, "It's for the podcast." She said, "What are you doing with it?" I said, "It's for the guest." I said, "Who's the guest?" I said, "It's Brand." No problem.
Straight away, yeah.
No problem.
Gracie, she's a good egg. I'll save her a Jaffa cake. Jaffa cake. Maybe one.
Otherwise, you'll be dead to her if you don't. Anyway, so we've got Jaffa cakes.
Lovely.
We've already established that. You're saying definitely a biscuit, not a cake?
Yeah, I think so. I'm looking at them now. They're eyeing me up. Don't worry, I'll get you in a minute. Don't worry. No, 5 minutes in, maybe I might have 7. Jaffa bickies. You look at them, and I look at a cake, like a cupcake or something like that. They just don't fit the definition for a cake. I'm a bicky.
There you go. So that's the first bombshell of today's show. We're branding them. It's only going to go downhill from here. So
good luck.
I think what the best thing to do, Brandon, let's get a little bit of football chat in.
Right.
Just to start
with.
Do
we have to?
Well, I was going to start with the current season, both personally and from the team point of view.
Let's start there.
Yeah, not one that's going to stick in the memory for yourself, probably, I'm guessing.
Well, look, it's a tricky one, because, in all honesty, being home and kicking a ball at home, probably a lot of people, when I came home this time, it would have raised a lot of eyebrows. You know, people would have had a lot of comments, which is completely and utterly fair, in my opinion. And what I've tried to do, which I'm sure we'll touch on my dad later on, and my life back home here in Perth, is to enjoy it for what it is. Now, kicking a football on the weekend in front of Perth Glory people is a huge honour, and something I never take lightly. And each time I've done it this year, it's been quite special because whether I've had 2 touches, 22 touches, given the ball away 7 times, or whatever it may be in terms of statistical and win, lose or draw, I've been able to see people and see fans and see members for kind of who they are and build a relationship back with them that I feel like I didn't have the last time I left here. Probably even more special to that is win, lose or draw, my daughter's on the pitch with me after the game. And for any parent, mums or dads out there that are listening, to see her just smiling, happy as Larry, running around, you've probably seen them guys, there's a tribe of them after the game that win, lose or draw.
Rizzo's kids are there as well.
Rizzo's as well. For me, that's what it's all about. And coming home, my whole mindset about coming home was, of course, I want to do as best I can for this football club, because I think it deserves to have a lot more success than it has done previously, and I think the people of Perth deserve that. But I wanted to do it in a way where myself and my family could share in the bits that many people don't see, and I wanted to highlight them for what they are, and to be able to, like I said, come on a weekend, win, lose or draw, be there with my family. And to make that the forefront of, our experience back home kicking a ball, because it's not going to last forever. Please God, it lasts for a few years, yeah. But to really, stick that really deep in my memory block, because these are special times that myself and my family get to experience kicking a ball back home.
You were always going to take to fatherhood like a duck to water. I never had any doubt about that. As soon when the day that you mentioned that Nicole was expecting,
Nicole
I never doubted it for a minute. How much are you enjoying that? You've got to be the softest dad in the world, surely.
She has me wrapped around her finger. Yeah, ask Nicole that. Again, I know we'll talk about my dad, but the last time I was back here, a lot of life things happened so quickly and in such a short period, ultimately changing me forever. Whether I can actually hand on heart say that now, but for all the better when Scotty came along. Being a dad is, it's very cliche. People say it's the best job in the world, but when you wake up and you see, the little person you've created just so happy back here. Like, I thought when we had her and we moved to Newcastle, and I thought she was happy there, When we've moved home now, and what I'm like, as our home door's always open, and the people in and out, cups of tea, bickies galore, and to see her with all her cousins, her aunties and uncles, and her nannies, nana and granddad, and it's just to see the new lease on life she has, as well as Nicole. Nicole's been here, there and everywhere in my football career, and I would be lost without her, and to see both of them just so fulfilled as a father, when as soon as you become a dad, and I'm sure I speak for a lot of parents out there, is like, you're not the priority anymore, and you don't feel that at all. You don't feel like you're even wanting to be. You just want to give your child the best experience in this life possible, and that's what I was kind of touching on before when I was saying win, lose or draw. When I see her out there and she just gets to experience something maybe not many kids get to experience. Her dad's kicking a ball for a living, and she's out there being able to, again, have them experiences that not many kids her age get. So yeah, I'd have a tribe. I'd have a zoo full, at this stage. Sorry, Nicole. But yeah, it is the best job in the world.
We were going to come to your dad and your relationship with your dad a little bit later, but I guess we've sort of, we've already touched on that. And just to fill people in, tragically passed away in 2021. much beloved, as well as obviously your own family, much beloved member of the football community as well, especially up there at ECU Joondalup. Always a twinkle in his eye. I was fortunate enough to
mad as a cut snake.
Meet him on a good few occasions. And again, going back to what you were saying there, it's quite unusual, especially in football, men's football, to find someone who talks about their emotions perhaps quite as openly as you do. And you certainly did that when your dad passed away. You talked a lot about, what you were going through at the time, the grief, dealing with it, the loss, everything that went with it. Was that a conscious decision to be that open, or is that just how you've always been?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think at the start of it, probably the worst thing I ever did with my dad's death was try to turn it into something that was going to be the best thing that ever happened to me. And that might sound weird to say, but I remember in the homily that I did at his funeral, and I remember standing up in front of everyone and saying that, he's going to be the reason why I get back into the Socceroos, and he's going to be the reason why I potentially might go to a World Cup. And I remember the people that were there, I remember said that at the end of me speech, and I look back now and I think, what were you doing? You just lost your best mate. And for some people, that could drive them to be better. And again, probably the worst thing I did was I swept it all under the rug, and I tried to use that event as like a firework inside me to get me going. And again, I lost my best friend, and I didn't even deal with it. Now, probably something that I've never kind of spoken openly and stuff. So when that all was happening, obviously there was a decision to be made on me professional life, and I think anyone that's gone through grief, when you're making big decisions, let alone your body being in the place that you're currently at, your mind is nowhere. All I knew my gut was saying was, you have to be home. You have to be home. You've got to go through this properly. And I didn't know what that meant or what that felt like. And we made the decision to stay home. And when we made that decision, again, I put my footballer hat on, and again, I was saying, this is the best thing that's going to happen to me in terms of my career, because I'm going to do A, B, C, D, and E. And I remember halfway through the season, completely and utterly just breaking down. Now, obviously, when I was part here in my second stint, I had the huge honour of being named captain. I had the amazing life moment of my daughter being born, and we had just bought our absolute dream forever home here back in Perth. And I'd wake up in the morning and I wouldn't even know my name, let alone how I was going to kick a ball, let alone how I was going to father, whether I was going to pay bills, and I was meant to lead a team, I was meant to be the person, that people looked up to. And it was probably the most difficult part of my life today, because I couldn't even brush my teeth in the morning. And come the end of that, as terrible as it sounds, an injury actually made me sit down with Nicole, my family. I did my AC joint against Sydney that year, and I had eight weeks to the end of the season, and I was pretty much out then. I had to recover. And I sat down to Nicole, and I was very close to saying to Nicole, that's me. That's me done. And again, the amazing person and amazing woman she is, she was going to accept that. She was, whatever was going to happen to make me feel better, she was going to accept that. But again, the woman she is, she just knew how to speak to me. She knew how to get things kind of into my brain and to get me think about things. And we just had a conversation that, get yourself right first, get yourself back to full fitness, and then we can make a decision from there. So yeah, in a nutshell, the grief that, still is here to this day, still you have days where you come in and you just, for whatever reason, you feel, not not the best or not the races that day. For anyone out there that, you know, has gone through such a traumatic thing like that, I think they understand and they get it. And, you know, I just want to talk to, you know, people of the club and fans and members to say, you know, I'm from the bottom of my heart, I'm sorry for what you perceived in that moment, to think that, you know, I wasn't connected to the club, or I wasn't here for the right reasons, or I left because of the, you know, I wanted to play football somewhere else. You know, it was a mad time in my life, and I'm so thankful to be able to be given a second chance to making it right now, and I'll be forever thankful for doing that, because my dad, getting back to my dad was, you know, he was the one constant in my football from early on to right till he passed away. You know, he still said to this day when we were in Korea and Thailand, you know, I was keeping him alive. And that's, you know, to hear that, you want to be able to do as much as you can for him, you know. And he tuned into every game in Korea. If it wasn't for his condition, I think he probably would have lived over there with us. Nicole would have loved that. He was such a special person, and people down at ECU, people of Perth footballing community, you ask anyone and you'd say, like, Miles O'Neill was the one person that, you know, every second word was a swear word, but yet he made it sound lovely. He made it sound like it was just part of his vocabulary. He lived and breathed anything got to do with football. And as his son, I was just so privileged to be able to, you know, and I still am, be able to kick a ball in his memory. And I feel so privileged to be able to talk about him as I can, knowing that I've done the work to be able to sit here and speak openly and honestly about him. And it brings me a lot of gratitude. And I'm sorry that I had to go away from me home, and I've often apologised to Nicole and my in-laws and my mum and everything, because I just felt like I needed to go away to do the work and to grieve properly, to be able to come back now and to be able to be in the position that, you know, that we're in.
Do you think it's sad in a way, Brano, that even in this day and age, you are in the football industry, you're almost expected, there'll be some sympathy, there'll be a little bit of sympathy for a couple of weeks, he's just lost his dad, but essentially it's, you've just got to get on with it. We've got games to win. You know, he needs to just, you know, get himself together and get back out there. Because I still think there is, you know, it's probably not overt, but I still think that that's the underlying feeling, is that, no, that's terrible. And but, you know, a couple of weeks, let's get back into it.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, because, you know, our line of work is always viewed on performances, you know, and performances make you either good or make it either bad in terms of a lot of people watching and the people that are involved. I think it's a tricky line, because the fans, the members, the people that love the club, they have every right in they pay their hard-earned money to come and to watch you, and their expectation is they want to watch, you know, the best version of Brandon O'Neill, and they want to watch the best version of Perth Glory week in, week out. And I think they deserve that after so many years of, you know, a lot of tough times they've had to go through, you know, and I think they deserve that. On our end, and on, I guess, again, I speak directly to people that have lost a best friend or a loved one, or it completely changes your life. Unless you go through that, and unless you know, people in the team have been in a position I am, you know, people, again, I'm speaking to people now directly, where unless you've experienced that from start to, you know, it never finishes, but from start, and you work through it, you know, it's such a difficult thing, you know, it's such an emotionally deep and meaningful. I definitely think chemically it changes something in your brain. I definitely think it changes. It feels like a lot of me died with me dad, and that's such a obviously it's a deep thing to say, but because your whole involvement in a sport, you did it with someone. Picking up the phone after a training session, after a game, still to this day is part of the grieving process because I can't speak to them. And you have to then navigate, your professional career, not by yourself, obviously, you still got loved ones around you, but it's just different. And when you're again in this, which we're so lucky to be able to kick a ball, so lucky to be able to paid like your career to be able to kick a ball. I never take that for granted. But it's a hard one because you want it. Like I wanted it so badly to be able to go out there, and especially my last spell here, to go out there and to play well and to be in it and to be so invested. And I still do. Like I still am that bloke. But it's just a balancing act because people would, give their right and left arm to be in the position that we're in, luckily, as footballers. So all in all, it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one to answer because I think there's definitely good points for both sides of it. And I think in this day and age, I think it's just important to bring awareness to the situation, and yeah, like myself, I wanted to be out there and winning every game and playing as best as I can be. And I'll continue to do that until my legs falls off for the club. But just to give context and awareness to, it completely and utterly changed me. And again, for people that saw me in the second spell and people that were involved with me, I'm so thankful to be still kicking a ball. I'm so thankful to be able to be given a second chance to be involved back home in my hometown club with my family here. And, and better news, we're all doing good. We're all have worked through, my mum, my sister, my family, everyone. We've all worked through, big adjustments in our life. And football's a bonus come at the end of the day when I can kick a ball on the weekend and enjoy it with people.
Well, as you said, mate, awareness is absolutely vital, and I'll put in the show notes, I'll put some links to some of the professional bodies that are out there for anyone that might be going through something similar. Did you seek out professional help yourself?
I still do.
You still do? Okay.
Yeah, I still do. Every couple of weeks, I go through, again, as honest, I go through spells where I don't want to talk to anyone, and then I go through spells when I want to talk to every man and their dog, I think that objective view where you sit down and you speak to someone that can just look at it for face value and just talking. Like I could talk the back legs of a donkey sometimes, but like I did about him now, God, you feel so much better after, and that's something that I never did at the start. I buried it, and talking and communicating, and there's no right or wrong in it, you do feel better after.
Right, well, really appreciate you sharing
no problem.
that, mate.
No dramas. Like I don't think I could have done that a year ago, and it feels nice to be able to do that now. And I just want to thank everyone from the bottom of my heart coming back this time. I've not been lucky enough to be on the pitch as much as, of course, I would have liked to this time, but every man and their dog, from little boys and girls to 78-year-olds that come to the game, or they are passionate football fans for this beautiful city we live in, they've been absolutely outstanding to myself and my family. And that's something that'll last long after I'm kicking a ball. And I just want to thank and appreciate everyone for being so good about it.
Well, one very happy family occasion for yourself. We're going to rip the Band-Aid off, Brandon. We're going to talk about the 2019 Grand Final. We're going to go there. We are going to go there. I wasn't sure whether we're going to go there.
Should I walk out? Or should I?
We are going to go there. Obviously, from a glory perspective, we've probably talked about it enough, but I just wanted to get the Sydney,
very sorry.
the Sydney perspective on it. What are your recollections of the build-up, the game itself, and then I guess we'll touch on the penalty shoot
if we have to.
Well, first of all, you had probably 600 to 700 family members in the crowd.
Felt like half the stadium at that time. I'll just never. It was definitely, without doubt, the best week in my career, hands down, by a country mile. After winning against Melbourne, the semi-final the week before, obviously Glory played Adelaide the night before. So going into that game, I remember going out for breakfast with Nicole, and she couldn't eat her brekkie. She was absolutely petrified, and I was tucking in like it was my last meal. And she was just looking at me as if to say, like, are you normal? Like, and I was just tucking in, and she was like, Brano, like, are you not nervous? Like, are you? And I just remember looking at her and I was like, no. And she was like how? This is such a big game for so many reasons. As if to say, like, if you win this, we're going home for a granny. This will probably never happen again in our lifetime. And I remember I was asking, can I have your bacon? Can I have your eggs? Like, I was just going ham. And I just said, we'll win. And she was, how can you be so confident? I said, I'm telling you now, we'll win. So get your suitcase packed for next week. We're going home for a granny. And I think that brought her a lot of ease. And then I took into me coffee or whatever I was doing. And it was just that year, how my own game was going, how it just set up for, obviously Glory had won. They're hosting the granny because they were minor premiers. We were second. And it set up for, it just felt like it was meant to be. It just felt like it was meant to be after everything, starting off here, moving away. It just felt like it was meant to be. Anyway, we went out and we battered Melbourne Victory, which was always great. And then after the game, it just kind of hit you. It just dawned and you're sitting in the changing room like, holy mother of God. Like, I'm going home to play in a grand final, not in front of just family and friends, but in front of every, again, man and their dog that had a hand in getting me to the position that I was getting to. I still had high school teachers messaging me for tickets and friends that I hadn't spoken to in a while. It was just, what was a crowd, like 58 or 59,000? Yeah. And it felt like 58 of them were there for me. Like, that's honestly generally how I felt. That week I was just floating, I couldn't get me hands on any media or anything got to do with that game. I just remember all that week in Nicola, I just saying to her, like, this will never happen again, Jules. Like, this will never, ever happen again when we get to go home and play in front of her. Like, this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Let's lap this up.
It was good that you were in the moment and aware of it.
Yeah, probably the
just
subconscious brain was thinking, oh, again, mother of God, like this is huge. And Glory, and credit to Glory that year, they were the team that, we struggled against. We got battered 3-1 at home to you guys, and the builders in the granny was great. Like, I remember seeing all my family and friends. Me ma was crying the night before, so, like, just with nerves. Bless her, she cries at the drop of a hat anyway, bless her. So love you, Charles. And me dad, like, this was probably the first time ever that I saw my dad speechless, because you could just tell probably one of the cool things about being, like, having a week before my dad passed away was my dad was, again, he wasn't very emotional, and he was always up for a laugh, but you never knew what was straight down the barrel in terms of emotional side. He'll tell you if I had a bad game or a great game, or God, he'd let you know. But before he passed, he just went through the grand final day and just said, like, how proud he was, and he went through his whole time, and I remember now looking back at that day, like the night before, I don't think he slept. In the game, I don't think he just physically couldn't talk, because he just couldn't believe what was happening, let alone his son playing at home in the grand final. Anyway, the game, the build up in the game, it was natural, and I just remember enjoying it so much. The warm up was great. I was the best thing probably about it was I knew where they were sitting. So for the warm up, I gave about 104 kisses out to everyone there. I got to see everybody before the game. I gave them hugs and kisses. They were asking me how I was feeling and stuff. I'm like, I'm having a warm up. Like, I'm on. Like, we're off. Let's do this type thing. And I just remember the walk out, and it still gives me pins and needles. Like, just knowing that, like, you are coming out, and everyone that was meant to be there was there for the whole journey. Now imagine that, from like you're a little chubby fella running around ECU to now walking out like, I apologise, it was Perth, and I, you know, in a grand scheme of things, I really hope I get to do that again. You know, it's wishful thinking, but that would be I'd retire the next day if that was to happen. But to be able to be given that environment where I could walk out, and it was, again, meant to be. Game kicked off, and it was the hardest game of football I've ever played in terms of mentally, because it was a chess match. Any wrong move me and Joshua Berlante did, Castro was in. Any wrong move, I think Killer and Wande was playing, Ninko was in, Milos Ninkovic. And it was just an arm wrestle, till the point where obviously it was extra time and penalties. And it was quite funny, because when it went to penalties, I remember straight away I was thinking, I wonder what Nicole, my mum and dad are doing right now. Like, I wonder what they're saying, and like, I was the one stepping up and having a penalty, and there I am thinking about what chats they're having with my aunties and uncles and cousins.
Did you know you were down for one? Had that already been?
That wasn't decided.
Was it not?
No, it wasn't decided, but I was the first one to put my hand up. Again, I think subconsciously and very naively to think, like, imagine if I missed it. Imagine, like, that'd be forever at home. I missed a penalty, Glory win. Like, great for Glory, don't get me wrong.
At least
great.
you've gone for an early one, though.
Yeah. So because I think I was one of the early ones to put my hand up, again, naively just thinking, you kind of have to. Like, every man and their dog here is here to witness this. Like, how can you not? So I remember walking up there again, all I kept thinking was, in this time I found out that Nicole was crying, my ma was crying, my auntie was crying, there was tears before I even took the penalty. And bless him, my dad left everyone that he was sitting with, and he watched the penalty shootout by himself in a telly next to a bar, or something, next to one of them sports bars, just by himself.
Wow. And
that's very unlike my dad to do. But he must have just sensed that, you know, what parents do. They know their sons or they know their daughters, and I think that's why and wives, and you know, I think that's why Nicole, me ma, and me dad were again so emotional, because they knew I'd step up and take one. So I walked up, put the ball down, and Rocket was in goal. Liam Reddy still gets me in a headlock to this day, and he said after the game he knew where I was going. And I said to him, I know you knew where I was going, but I was still going there, because if you can execute a penalty to the best of your ability, that's all you can kind of do. And if the keeper saves it, the keeper saves it. Hats off to them. And that was the mantra. Like, looking back at it now, if Rocket knew where I was going and I missed that slightly, and in the highlights you can see him get a hand to it, bottom left, and it went in. And then... yeah, it was just me thing where I took a penalty in the previous grand final against Melbourne Victory in Sydney, and I just gave 3 kisses, and them 3 kisses were to Nicole, my mum and my dad. And to turn around and to do that, scoring at home in a granny, to do that, again, talk about retirement. Like, I couldn't have retired at 25, 26, but it's just like you feel like you just completed it, and to go on and win it. I think I had about nearly 90 people try get in our change rooms at the end of the game, and I had about 50 of them in the change room. And again, I apologise to Perth, but after that, you know, it's a blur. It's a blur after that. But the best week of my life culminated in getting called up in my first Socceroos camp, and my first cap after that. So. Again, if I can experience anything half of that here until I stop kicking a ball, I can retire one happy man.
Well, you've brought us nicely. You've segued onto your first Socceroos cap. I suppose, just talk about, if you wouldn't mind, in terms of standing there for the anthem, because it must be pretty much, there must be going through your mind stuff that's gone on before, your journey to get there, that kind of thing. Is it hard to actually focus on the game and not get swept up a little bit in that? Did you cry, is basically what I'm asking.
I didn't cry, obviously, in the game or in the national anthem, but I remember after the game I was in the toilet, and I don't know why, but I was busting for a poo after the game. I was really, really busting for a poo.
We did say there'd be some life stories.
Yeah,
here,
life
didn't we?
stories.
Yeah.
So I went in and everyone's congratulating, and I didn't do too bad, and thanks very much. I was turtle heading it at this stage. I needed to run into the South Korean toilet, and I remember snapping the log off, finished, and I was sat there, and how weird is that? You were sat there, and this is what I remember. I sat there, and I did, once I was finished in a very funny way, I sat there just in this cubicle, right, and just thinking, like, you just played for your country. Like, it was like I had to say it out loud, if that made sense, because again, like, an amazing part of sitting down with your dad that is the most non-emotional bloke, but in the situation he was so emotional, and he let all his feelings out, and he said, I just couldn't believe, again, a chubby fella from ECU that never left the centre circle. I couldn't run, so they used to just give us the ball in the centre circle. I pinged it left and right, and I can control the game in there. Like, he just said, like, you've exceeded every expectation he had of me, let alone a career. And that's what I kind of felt like after the game. I was like, why? Like, how me? How have I done this? This is mad. Like, this is actually mad to think I've just represented my country against marking Heung-min Song that plays for Spurs, And then it probably didn't dawn... It probably didn't sink home until I come back and I brought my jersey back and I had my cap number and I had a signed jersey, and it's up in my house now, and I look at it every single day. Not taking a poo, it's in my garage.
Yeah, sure. I suppose it should probably
imagine
be
in the toilet,
wall,
after all that.
Yeah.
Oh, they call it like that one. And it's that week and culminating in that, that game. I can forever say I've played for my country. And that's, again, from where, honestly, you wouldn't have picked it from a country, like for a country mile. So,
brilliant.
Yeah, amazing.
Brilliant.
Amazing.
Right, we haven't covered anywhere near the amount of ground I always thought we would.
But it's been an hour and a half, weekly segment.
We might need to go part two. Part two. We've had number twos. We might need to go part two. Let's jump on to the dream car rental dream team.
Right, go on.
Which is always a little bit tricky to say. I did give you some warning about this. You don't want to pick yourself, do you? So I've given you some leeway.
I'd be in the stand watching this dream team. Right. I wouldn't get
in
close.
Full, like, bench coat?
I'd just have a cup of tea with a Jaffa cake watching some good footballers going about.
T-shirt, shorts and thongs.
Thinking, God, how can I be that good? How can I get there?
In that case, we need 6 players.
Okay.
I think we're going to go for players that you've played with. I think we agreed on, didn't we?
Yeah,
they don't
we're
have
going
to
do
be
that.
glory players. Obviously, it'd be nice for the benefit of this
course,
podcast. If
yeah,
there was a
the
glory.
title of this.
It's just 6 Sydney FC players. Thanks very much.
No viewers, no content being created there, would there?
Right, go for it. Let's start in goal.
In goal, it was a heads or a tails really between these two, because they were so successful for the club and the country, but. Can I give shout outs before we start this? Can I give honourable mentions to people just quickly?
We've got about 7 minutes.
Okay,
yes, we can.
Danny Vukovic, honourable mention. Josh Belante, honourable mention. Partner in crime in that midfield for the amazing years.
So hang on, these are the players that haven't made it.
Yeah, these haven't made it. Yeah. Adrian Mizejewski, Polish wizard, was unbelievable. And Ryan Grant is the fourth one, just an out-and-out stalwart. Anyway, moving on. Andrew Redmayne will be in goal. What he's done at Sydney FC, and then what he's actually done for the country. How can you go past him for in goal, especially what he did against Peru? The Grey Wiggle. We'll go 2-2-2. Oh, sorry, it can't be 7 aside then? Now I need a heads or tails with... Okay, honourable mention. We only have one in defence. Honourable mention, Alex Wilkinson, and this is only because I've got a relationship. Both have done amazing, but only because I've had a relationship pretty much since under 12s with the fella. So the one defender would be Joshua Risden. Rizzo probably. I'd go as far as to say, and especially now being home playing, and probably my closest footy mate. And how he's not played overseas is beyond me. He's done everything in the game. everything. He's won championships here. He's gone to World Cups. He's outmarked Dembele and Mbappe and nearly got player of the game against France in his World Cup. But on the flip side of that, one of the best human beings I've ever met. And I think a lot of people here in Perth know that. He's an absolute champion, and I hope I can play footy with him for many years to come. And then when that's done, we'll both be sport teachers, so we'll have many more years of teaching to go. Two midfielders would be Jacob Burns and Liam Miller, for the opposites, because they attract. Burnsy, when I was coming through, I talk about human beings, he pretty much nursed me and helped me get into a position that I could play first team football. He would kick lumps out of me in every training session, but would coach me every single day. I'll never forget what he did after the Brisbane Grand Final when Bessart Brisbane did what he did. He gave me his match-worn boots, and I'll never forget that. He made a young lad wanna be Jacob Burns. His partner in crime next to him, Liam Miller, probably the most intelligent footballer, God rest his soul, I've ever played with. What he could do in terms of unlocking defences and his ability to keep the ball. Irish doesn't help, obviously, so it does help. An incredible midfielder, and growing up, I was like, if I could have Burnsy's aggressiveness, his mentality, the way he wanted to win games, and Liam Miller's technical ability, I'd have half a decent career. Two attackers, me next door neighbour for 5 years, Milos Ninkovic. He probably will go down as the best player I've ever played with. He was an absolute joke. I know some of the lads have come in here and said who's the best player they played with. Obviously Castro. Them two in that era I remember giving Ninko the ball with 4 people around him most weekends, and he would get out of that, and he would make sure that the big moments he was the one that delivered, and you wouldn't even know it. He'd pop over for a cup of tea, and he was just a normal fella. I remember having a connection with him on the pitch where I didn't even speak to him, and we would know where each other would be. He made me look 10 times a better player as what I actually am. And the last person, Alex Brosk, the best captain I've ever played with. He had an ability, and I still don't know to this day how he did it. He would be the game changer more often than not, but would be laughing and joking and farting and always be late, and everything you could think of a captain. Broski was the opposite, but he was an unbelievable man in terms of how he galvanised a group with all that antics. You'd be looking at him and going, he can't be doing that. And they'd run on the field and right lads, this is what we're doing, away we go. And he would just come alive in the game. And his leadership, he probably doesn't know this already, but his leadership was how I would love to captain and still try to do, being a very good human being first and having a conversation with everyone, let alone the nurse, the doctor, the man walking the dog. He had time for everyone, but yeah, he still delivered on match day, and he was incredible captain. So dare me 6-7 aside.
I think, if my calculations are right, you've rather nicely managed to balance with 3 Glory players and 3 Sydney FC players.
There you go.
Because we went Redmayne, Risdon, Miller, Burns, Ninkovic, Brosk, didn't we? Yep. So that's your 6 with you up in the stands drinking tea. And
I wouldn't get near that team.
Watching them play.
Near that team. I'd run the waters. I'd tape up their ankles probably.
And just as a little known fact, Jacob Burns' middle name is Jeffrey.
Jeff? No way, is
100%.
Oh, I can't wait to see him on the sidelines now.
Yeah,
hey Jeff. Jeff Burns, how are you?
I found that out during a trip for the Champions League draw to Kuala Lumpur, where he was, I don't know what had happened, but we arrived over there and the AFC guys that were meeting us had little signs like they sometimes do at the airport. It's the only time I've ever been met by someone with a sign. I felt really important. And for some reason, they'd gone with Mr. Jeffrey, and Mr. My middle name being David, Mr. Jeffrey and Mr. David.
Jeff
so
and
we stood
Dave.
around for ages thinking, well, there's
Where's
no
that
one
taxi
here.
here?
And then, so that's how
Jeff
we
and
found
Dave.
out. And we were known as Jeff and Dave
That's
for the
brilliant.
rest of the trip.
Oh,
But
that's
there you
awesome.
go.
Oh, that's
But,
so cool.
Mate, so much stuff that we haven't covered. We haven't talked
part
about
two.
Korea.
Part two.
We haven't
Yeah.
talked about Thailand.
Yeah, that
Lots
was-
of other bits and pieces. We haven't talked about DIY because I've got a bit of a bone to pick with you there because having been to your garage recently, I saw power tools in there, Brandon,
Yeah.
and I'm a little bit disappointed. We had an
Damn right.
agreement
Yep,
where we're
sorry.
both very, very inept.
Yeah, we really
at
come
DIY.
together in that
We
topic,
bond,
don't we? Yeah.
we bond
Don't
on
worry,
that.
they were my father-in-laws.
And well,
Tell you
I
what I
hope
can
so.
do. I'm into me gardening. Since
that's
I've come,
all right. Yeah,
me
yeah,
lawn.
that's all right.
Ask Rizzo. Every day I talk about my lawn.
That's fine,
Yeah,
because that doesn't really involve kind of practical skills,
I can't hang
does
a
it?
picture. Well, you can't hang a picture
no,
either, yeah.
No. But when I saw that power drill in there, I felt betrayed.
I
I'll be
know,
honest
yeah.
with you.
Don't worry, it's my daughter. It's my daughters.
Even had a selection of bits. Is that the things that go in the end?
I couldn't
think?
tell you. It's not mine. Couldn't tell you what's happening.
Good. Well, I feel a bit reassured.
Better.
I'm reassured
Yeah,
by
better.
that. But mate, it's been an absolute delight. Thank you for coming in, and
No,
especially
thank you for having me on.
the first part of the show earlier on. The honesty on what is obviously still, understandably, something that's very raw for you. So thanks very much. I hope that might have helped some people
Yes.
out there as well in dealing with that particular issue. We will be back again next week for another Glory Stories. In the meantime, obviously,
Part
thanks
two.
for part two for you again for another 40 minutes of talking about toilets.
I do this every day. Yeah, toos and wees and all sorts.
Yeah, basically. Thanks very much indeed to our podcast sponsors, Drimtel, your connection to possibilities, to Jeff and Jack for their technical expertise here in the studio.
Jeff.
Obviously to Barry's Tea and to Jaffa Cakes
Jeff
for
Burns.
supplying those. Jeffrey Burns for supplying the refreshments today. Thanks very much to everyone who is watching on YouTube and downloading as well on the podcast platforms. As I said, we will catch you again next week. In the meantime, go well and go glory.